Sleepover Friends number 3, Kate's Surprise by Susan Saunders. Copyright 1987.
Sleepover friends forever. Pizza crumbs and silly secrets. Different ways, but always better. When we're tangled in these blankets, we shout, we fight, we hug back together. Sleepover friends forever.
Chapter 1. Kate Beekman turned on the blender and let it whirl for a few seconds. When the stuff inside looked like green paste, she turned the blender off. "That takes care of the avocado," she told us. "What's next?" Stephanie Green studied the book she was holding. "Let's see. Add 1 cup of heavy cream," she read. "Patty, would you look in the refrigerator?" Kate asked. Patty Jenkins opened the Beekmans' double-doored refrigerator and moved things around on the shelves. "No heavy cream," she reported. "But there is some half and half." Stephanie nodded. "That should be okay." Kate measured out a cup of half and half and dumped it into the blender. "Anything else?" "1 egg," Stephanie answered. Kate broke an egg into the blender, too. She turned it on again and left it running until the mixture was a smooth, pale green. Kate took the top off the blender and poured the avocado mixture into a bowl. "It looks yummy." I tried to stick my finger into the bowl for a taste, but Kate snatched it away. "Stop it, Lauren. Once you get started, there won't be any left for the rest of us," she scolded. "Let's take it upstairs." Stephanie, Patty, and I'm Lauren Hunter, were at Kate's house for our Friday night sleepover. Kate and I live 2 houses down from each other on Pine Street. We've been best friends since kindergarten, which is when the sleepover started. In those days, it was just the 2 of us. Kate's dad named us the Sleepover Twins. Then Stephanie's family moved from the city to the other end of Pine Street. She and I got to be friends because we were in the same class in 4th grade. Stephanie started coming to the sleepovers too and having us stay overnight at her house. Stephanie already had her own way of doing things, and Kate had hers, which led to some disagreements at first. Since I was friends with both of them, I'd find myself caught in the middle, at least until Patty moved to town. Small world. Patty had known Stephanie in kindergarten and 1st grade back in the city. Although they hadn't seen each other in years, they both ended up in Mrs. Meade's 5th grade class at Riverhurst Elementary, along with Kate and me. It wasn't long before Patty was the 4th member of the Sleepover Friends. Kate switched off the light in the kitchen. "Quiet! Melissa!" she hissed as we followed her up the stairs. Melissa, better known as Melissa the Monster, is Kate's little sister. There's nothing Melissa likes better than an excuse to crash our sleepover unless it's getting us into trouble. And she has the sharpest ears around. We jumped over the really creaky step near the top and made it safely past her bedroom to Kate's room. Kate closed the door and put the bowl down on the floor next to our tray of snacks. Her special marshmallow fudge, my onion soup, olives, bacon bits, and sour cream dip, a basket of barbecue potato chips, and a giant-sized bottle of Dr. Pepper. "Dig in," Stephanie directed. As I reached for the bowl, she added, "Try to remember, Lauren, your face, not your mouth." The 4 of us stuck our hands into the avocado mixture and smeared it on our cheeks. "Yuck," Kate said, spreading a fingerful of green glop down her nose. "What is this supposed to do exactly?" "Give you taut skin and a glowing complexion," Stephanie replied, rubbing the goo across her chin. "The natural way to natural beauty," she added, pointing to the book she'd been reading in the kitchen. "I just wish your mother had some honey, Kate." "What for?" I asked, licking a little of the green goop off my finger. "Not bad," I murmured to Patty. "You mix honey with herbs and lemon juice and use it as a conditioner for your hair," Stephanie answered. "Maybe you do," Kate said to her. "But if you think I'm going to rub honey in my hair—" Stephanie reached into the bowl. "You missed a spot," she said, dabbing more avocado gunk on Kate's upper lip and shutting her up at the same time. "How long do we have to leave it on?" Patty asked. "Till it hardens," Stephanie said. "I guess about an hour." "What time is it?" I peered out the window towards my house. From what I could see, no lights were on downstairs. "After 10, Patty answered. "What time is Roger bringing Linda back?" Stephanie wanted to know. "Roger is my older brother, and Linda's his girlfriend. They had dinner reservations for 8 o'clock at the Gilded Lobster, so it shouldn't be long now." "I love surprise parties," Stephanie said. "My 7th birthday party was a surprise. There's this restaurant in the city—" "I think they're corny," Kate interrupted. Stephanie looked at Patty and me and raised an eyebrow. Kate's own birthday was coming up in a couple of weeks, and it just so happened that Stephanie, Patty, and I were planning a surprise party. "Oh, yeah?" Stephanie said. "What do you mean exactly?" I'm sure Linda figured it out ages ago, and all of those people are sitting in Lauren's living room in the dark for nothing, Kate declared. I bet Linda doesn't suspect a thing, I replied. Well, I certainly would have caught on by now, Kate sniffed. Doesn't Linda think it's kind of strange that Roger's bringing her to your house at 10 o'clock at night in the middle of a date? Roger's telling her Mom made a cake especially for her. Besides, it's not officially Linda's birthday until Tuesday, so she won't be expecting anyone but my parents. Stephanie looked out the window. I love it when the lights suddenly go on, everybody yells surprise, and jumps out from behind doors. She turned to me with a big grin on her face. Hey, maybe we can see it. I shook my head. The Foster's house is in the way. No, I mean really see it. Sneak over and look through the living room window, just until Linda gets her big surprise. In our pajamas? Patty said, startled. Think of them as jogging outfits, Stephanie replied, looking down at hers. Stephanie's pajamas were striped red, black, and white, her favorite color combination. Roger would kill me, I said. Not to mention my parents, Kate said. And what about the green faces? She touched her avocado mask, which was still gooey. Stephanie has an answer for everything. Nobody's going to see us. We'll sneak down the alley and hide in the bushes in Lauren's yard. She glanced at Kate out of the corner of her eye. Unless you're scared to. Stephanie was turning it into a dare. Truth or Dare is one of our favorite sleepover activities. Nobody turns down a dare. Who's scared? Kate huffed. Oh, come on. Luckily, Dr. Beekman had worked late in the hospital emergency room the night before. Kate's parents were already in their bedroom with the door closed. We pulled on our shoes and threw on jackets. Then we tiptoed downstairs again, through the kitchen and out the back door. We left it open a crack, so we could get back inside in a hurry if we had to. The moon's like a spotlight, Patty whispered. It was so bright that our long, skinny shadows marched in front of us across the lawn. I stepped on a dry twig and jumped a mile. Patty and I giggled. Shh, Donald's still awake, Kate murmured as she pushed through the hedge between her house and the Fosters'. The light is on in his bedroom. Donald Foster is probably the most conceited boy in Riverhurst, at least if you don't count the ones in high school. He's got blonde hair and green eyes, and he thinks every girl in town is after him. Since he lives between Kate and me, Donald has seen us all in some pretty weird situations. Like the time we couldn't wash the purple styling gel out of our hair because there was no water. I would be just as happy if he didn't get a look at us in our green avocado masks, though. Keeping an eye on Donald's window, third from the end, we crept across the Fosters' backyard. Then we slipped into the alley. Before I opened my own gate, I warned everybody. No matter what, we can't make any noise. Roger will strangle me if he finds out I'm snooping. I think I hear a car coming, Patty whispered. We stood still and listened. The car was moving up the street, getting closer. The engine rattled a little. It sounds like Roger's car, I whispered. Hurry! The four of us scurried across the yard and crouched down in the lilacs next to the living room window. The car slowed down to turn into the driveway. The beams of the headlights swung over our heads. Keep down, I warned. It's them, Stephanie giggled. Shh, everybody else scolded. The car stopped with a squeak of brakes, and Roger climbed out. He walked around to open the passenger door for Linda. The house is awfully dark, we heard Linda say. Maybe your parents are already in bed. Why don't we have the cake tomorrow, Roger? You think she doesn't know what's up? Kate hissed. I jabbed her in the ribs. Ouch! Shh, Stephanie said. No. I'm sure they're, just waiting for us to get here, Roger fumbled. Let's go inside. Stephanie started to get the nervous giggles again. Kate and I elbowed her hard to keep quiet. Roger and Linda walked up to the front door. Roger opened it and Linda stepped inside. The living room lights flashed on. About 20 high school kids jumped out of the coat closet and from behind the couch. Surprise! Surprise! They shouted. Eee! Screamed Linda before everybody started laughing and talking at once. Did you see how surprised she was? Linda didn't have a clue, Stephanie whispered triumphantly to Kate. As we watched, Mom walked into the living room from the kitchen. She was carrying a big white birthday cake ringed with lighted pink candles, and everyone was singing, Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. At that point, Bullwinkle joined in. Bullwinkle is our dog, Roger's dog really, since Roger picked him out at the pound about 11 years ago. He's mostly Cocker Spaniel, the people at the pound had said about the little black puppy. As it turned out, the only thing Bullwinkle had in common with a Cocker Spaniel was his thick black fur. When he's standing on his hind legs, he's taller than I am, and he weighs about 130 pounds. Mostly Newfoundland would have been closer to the truth. For the party, Mom must have closed him up in the kitchen because that's where the noise was coming from. Whenever Bullwinkle hears singing or any kind of music, he howls his head off. It was so piercing that some of the birthday guests actually covered their ears with their hands. "George," my mother called over the racket to my father, who was in the kitchen, "would you please let the dog out into the backyard? I can't hear myself think." Let Bullwinkle out into the backyard? The four of us stared at each other with just one thought in mind. "Run for your lives," I hissed. But we weren't halfway to the gate when Bullwinkle galloped down the back steps looking for action, his fluffy tail waving in the air. When he gets out of the house, he usually circles the backyard a couple of times just to work off some energy. That night, he started his circle, spotted us, and did a doggy double take. Then he charged after us like a stampeding buffalo. Chapter 2. Patty has long legs. She's the tallest girl in our class. She made it to the gate first. She didn't even bother to open it. She climbed right over the top. The rest of us weren't so speedy. Kate's a shorty and can't run very fast. I'm taller, and I was doing pretty well, dodging trees and bushes and lawn furniture, until I tripped over a sprinkler. I fell to my knees, and Kate and Stephanie fell on top of me. When we tried to stand up, Bullwinkle sideswiped us and knocked us down again. "Sit, Bullwinkle, stay," I whispered sternly. "Black." Bullwinkle was dragging his long pink tongue across my face. I couldn't get up. One huge furry foot was pressed against my stomach, holding me down. "Get him off," I spluttered to Kate and Stephanie, just before Bullwinkle's tongue covered my face again like a damp washcloth. He's eating the avocado mask," Stephanie burst into giggles. But she didn't think it was so funny when he started it on her, which Bullwinkle did as soon as he'd licked the last glob of green goop off my face. "No, Bullwinkle, stop that!" Stephanie shrieked. "Shh!" Kate and I hissed, both tugging at Bullwinkle's collar. "I think somebody's coming," Patty warned from the other side of the fence. I looked over my shoulder. Someone was peering out the kitchen door. "What's going on out there, Bullwinkle?" my father said. "And where's the flashlight?" he called to my mother. Bullwinkle trotted a few steps in the direction of the house, just long enough for Stephanie to scramble to her feet. Kate was already out the back gate, and I was right behind her. I made it just before Bullwinkle swung around, but I had to slam the gate closed in Stephanie's face. "Are you crazy?" she panted. She was furious. "Bullwinkle will get out," I whispered. I didn't want to spend half the night chasing him around the neighborhood. "Climb over." I've never seen Stephanie move so fast. She was up and over the gate in a flash. She left a piece of her pajamas behind, however, a small red, black, and white tatter caught on the fence. Bullwinkle must have thought Stephanie left it for him, because he snatched it off the fence with his teeth. "Your parents are standing on the back steps," Kate whispered urgently. She and Patty dashed down the alley and cut through the Fosters' yard. Stephanie and I were right behind them. "Whew, safe. I don't think Mom and Dad saw us," I said as we crept past the Fosters. We were at the far corner of the house when there was another pileup. "Watch it! You stepped right on my foot," a squeaky voice complained. "Melissa, what are you doing in the Fosters' yard?" Kate hissed. "Tonight's our lucky night," Stephanie muttered to me. "Ow!" Melissa whined at her sister. "That hurt, Kate. I'm telling Mom you were running around outside in the dark." "Ow! What's that stuff on your face?" "You were spying on us, weren't you?" Kate growled. "And I've got news for you. You're outside in the dark, too." She made a grab for Melissa's ear, and Melissa shrieked. "Somebody's going to hear," I warned. "Let's get out of here." It was already too late. The third window from the end of the Foster's house was raised with a screech, and a head appeared. "Hey, girls," Donald Foster drawled. "What are you up to now?" With a squeak, Melissa dashed through the hedge into the Beekmans' backyard. Patty jumped behind a bush. Between the avocado mask and the darkness, I couldn't be positive, but I just knew she was blushing. "Is that you, Kate?" Donald shone his desk lamp out the window. "Wow, you look just like a movie star. You know the one I mean. The slime creature in the curse of the radioactive swamp?" Kate's green mask did seem to glow a little. Stephanie snickered. "Ha, ha, ha," Kate said coldly. "You're a laugh a minute, Donald." She marched around the house toward her own yard. "And Lauren and Stephanie," Donald said, checking us out. I was kind of glad Bullwinkle had taken care of my face. So that must be Patty behind the bush, Donald went on, aiming the lamp in Patty's direction for a second. The Four Stooges. He thinks he's so cute, I whispered indignantly to Stephanie. Well, he is, she murmured back. So, Stephanie, Donald said suddenly, flashing his smoothest grin, I hear you're a pretty good dancer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Patty sneaking across the yard after Kate. Well, Stephanie was smiling modestly. She's very proud of her dancing. She's always picking up steps from rock videos and making up new ones herself. I'm not bad either. You gonna dance with me at the Masons' party? The Masons' party? Stephanie and I looked at each other. It was the first we'd heard about it. I didn't know there was going to be a party at the Masons, Stephanie said to Donald. When is it? I asked. A dance, next Friday night, Donald said. The invitations probably haven't been sent out yet. I know about the party because of Royce. Royce Mason is a 7th grader like Donald. He's got curly brown hair, big brown eyes, and a terrific smile. Kate has had a secret crush on him for months, since we watched him playing soccer after school. I'm the only one who knows about it, and I knew Kate would die when she heard about the party. Is it Royce's party? I asked. Royce and Sally's, Donald answered. I'm sure you're all invited. Sally Mason is in our room, 5B, so we probably were all invited. Jenny Carlin's in 5B too, and so is Pete Stone. Jenny just happens to like Pete, and lately Pete seems to like me, which means Jenny doesn't like me much. If Sally asked everybody in our room, her party would be interesting. Kate's waiting for us, I said to Stephanie, who'd been hanging on Donald's every word. Come on. I mean, we were in our pajamas, even if they were partly covered up. Oh, yeah. See you, Donald. She gave him her Brooke Shields smile, the one she practices in front of the mirror. Right. Catch you at the party. Donald pulled down his window. Wow, a dance. Donald really is good looking, Stephanie burbled as we crawled through the hedge. So he says. I've lived next door to Donald all my life, and I know just how boring he can be about himself. Kate, Patty, and Melissa were standing on the Beekmans' back steps. Can you believe what this twerp did? Kate whispered when she saw us. Ow! Melissa complained as Kate thumped her arm. What? Stephanie asked. Pulled the door closed behind her when she left. In other words, I began. In other words, we're locked out. Kate looked ready to throttle Melissa. And don't you dare start crying, she warned her little sister. What about climbing through a window? Stephanie suggested. Kate shook her head so hard that a big piece of dry avocado mass dropped off her chin. Not unless we make a giant hole in a screen. Mom just had new catches put on all of them, she said gloomily. I'll have to wake up my parents. That wasn't the easiest thing, since the doorbell's really quiet, their bedroom is upstairs, and they'd already been asleep for a while. Kate called, then I did, until most of the dogs in the neighborhood were barking. It wasn't until Stephanie threw her sneaker at the upstairs window. Stephanie isn't much on sports, but she has a great throwing arm, that Mrs. Beekman finally woke up. And she wasn't at all happy about it. You girls, Mrs. Beekman groaned, letting us in the back door with a big yawn. Kate, I've warned you about going outside at night. I told you so, Kate. Melissa had to put in her 2 cents. You too, young lady, Mrs. Beekman said to Melissa. Your father will talk to you both tomorrow. Great work, Kate hissed at Melissa, who stuck out her tongue. It was my fault, Mrs. Beekman, Stephanie was confessing. I just wanted to see a little of the surprise party at Lauren's. It's not a good idea to wander around the neighborhood at 11 o'clock at night. Please go to bed, all of you, after you get all that stuff off your faces. We all crowded into the upstairs bathroom to wash our faces, although Bullwinkle had cleaned off Stephanie's and mine pretty thoroughly. What did you think of the mask? Stephanie asked us when we were done. Does your skin feel smooth? Tingly? Well, Patty touched her cheek and looked doubtful. Mine sure does, I said. Bullwinkle gave my face a terrific massage. Stephanie was looking in the mirror, practicing the Brooke Shields smile. She caught Kate's eye. Do you think a 7th grader could like a 5th grader? Kate glanced quickly at me. I shook my head, meaning I hadn't opened my big mouth about her own crush on Royce. Donald Foster, I explained. Donald Foster? Gross me out. Kate made a gagging noise. I don't care what you say. I think he's cute, Stephanie replied. And I'm going to dance with him as much as I can at the Masons' party. It would be cool to have a boyfriend who's older. The Masons are having a party? Kate said. Donald told us about it. It's going to be a dance party, and it's next Friday night. Sally and Royce together, I answered. Kate nodded, looking pleased. The Beekman's portable television was in Kate's bedroom for the evening. Checking the TV listing, Stephanie announced, "There's something on Channel 31 called Beach Party Bongos. Anybody want to watch it?" "I've had enough parties for one night, thank you," Kate said. As we flopped down on Kate's big bed, Patty added, "At least there's one thing to be grateful for." "Like what?" I asked. "Like the fact that we didn't have that honey conditioner on our hair. By the time Bullwinkle finished with us, we might have all been bald." Chapter 3. We were sitting at the breakfast table the next morning, working on our second helpings of blueberry waffles, when the mail arrived at the Beekmans. Junk, Bill, Bill, Mrs. Beekman muttered as she sorted it out. "Kate, here's something for you." "It looks like an invitation," Stephanie exclaimed as Kate tore open the small red envelope. "It is." Kate held the card up for us to see. On the front it had a boy and girl dancing, with a bunch of balloons floating over their heads. Then she read the inside. "Royce and Sally Mason are having a party. It's next Friday night at 7:30. Casual." "I wonder if we all got one," I said. "You think Sally would ask one of us and not the rest when she knows we're best friends?" Kate shook her head. "I'm going to need a whole new look," Stephanie said thoughtfully. "I'd like to find some yellow sneakers. Maybe we should go to the mall this afternoon," Kate suggested. "Oh," I said. I glanced at Patty and Stephanie. We'd already made secret plans to shop for Kate's birthday present that day. Patty said. She blushed bright red. "I really can't," Stephanie said quickly. "I've got a hair appointment at Cut-Ups." "You're having your hair cut?" Kate said, surprised. Stephanie's hair is dark, wavy, and very long. She hasn't had it cut since second grade. I've been thinking about it for a while," Stephanie said, ducking the question. Kate turned to Patty and me. "What about you two?" Thanks to Stephanie, we'd had time to think of excuses. "I have to babysit Horace," Patty said. Horace is Patty's little brother. "I told Mom I'd go with her to visit Aunt Beth," I said. "Kate, talk to your father before you make plans to go anywhere," Mrs. Beekman said from the living room. "I'm not happy about last night." "We could shop Monday after school," I suggested. "Good idea," Stephanie said. Patty nodded in agreement. "Okay, Monday after school we'll do the mall," Kate said. Stephanie checked her watch. "I guess I'd better get home. I have stuff to do around the house." She carried her breakfast dishes over to the dishwasher. "Me too." I stood up, and so did Patty. "Goodbye, Mrs. Beekman. About last night," Stephanie said. "We won't do it again," I said. "And thank you for the breakfast," Patty added. Mrs. Beekman waved from behind her newspaper. Stephanie and Patty retrieved their bikes from the Beekman's garage. Kate and I walked down the driveway with them. Kate stopped at the street. "I'll talk to you later. I'd better go face Dad." "Good luck." I turned up the sidewalk toward my house. "I'll call you as soon as I get home," Stephanie hissed as she and Patty pedaled past. "Don't slam it," my mother whispered as I walked through our front door. "Your brother is still asleep." "Was Linda's party okay?" I asked innocently, picking up the mail from the table in the hall. Mom nodded. "She was really surprised, and everybody seemed to have a good time." Mom went on. "We had to put Bullwinkle outside, and he acted a little odd." "Oh, really?" I sifted through the magazines and newspapers. "Poor Bullwinkle. Mom thought he was acting wacko all by himself, when really we had gotten him crazy, sneaking around with tasty green faces. He's getting kind of old and silly." "Yes," my mother said. "He came back inside chewing a piece of red, black, and white striped cloth. The colors made me think of Stephanie." She gave me the once-over. I pulled a small red envelope out of the stack of mail. "The invitation!" Then the telephone rang and I ran for it. "It's me," Stephanie said. "Did you get one?" "Yeah." "Me too, and so did Patty. I can't wait. Now, what about this afternoon? Where do you want to meet?" "What about in front of Dandelion?" Dandelion's a store on Main Street that sells great kids' clothes. "Okay, we'll probably find the perfect present right there. I'll tell Patty and we'll be waiting out front." "Do you still think Kate's party ought to be a surprise?" I asked. Last night she sure sounded as though she doesn't like surprise parties. "Oh, everybody says that," Stephanie replied breezily. "But when it happens to you, you love it. Are you kidding me? Who doesn't like being the absolute center of attention?" "Well, maybe. Stephanie might, but would Kate? Besides, after all that stuff she said about any jerk being able to figure it out, it's a challenge. I want to see her face when we yell surprise," Stephanie said gleefully. "So what about this afternoon? Is 2 o'clock all right?" "Sure," I said. 2 o'clock in front of Dandelion. See you. I was a little late getting there. By the time I rode up on my bike, Stephanie and Patty were already window shopping. What about that orange t-shirt? Patty was saying. On Kate? I wouldn't like that color on her, Stephanie answered. Hi, guys, I said. See anything? Not out here, Stephanie answered. Let's go inside. Instead of getting Kate 3 little presents this year, we decided to buy her one big present from all 3 of us. Something super special, Stephanie had said. But that meant finding one thing we all agreed on, and that wasn't so easy, not even at Dandelion. This is sharp, Stephanie said, unfolding a long red sweatshirt silk-screened with black and white palm trees. I never even thought about red, black, and white clothes until I met Stephanie, but she manages to find them everywhere. That looks exactly like you, Stephanie, not like Kate, I said. What about these? Patty held up some baggy gray denim pants. I like them, I said. Not zippy enough, said Stephanie. We know she wants yellow sneakers. Patty picked up a pair with bright green laces. Stephanie and I both shook our heads. What's the fun in giving her something she needs? Stephanie said. The present and the party have to be real surprises. It's a good thing we've started looking 2 weeks ahead of time, I told them. I have a feeling we'll need at least that long to find something we all like. After we looked at every single item in Dandelion, Stephanie said, We'd better try them all. There's always just juniors. And KidWorks, Patty added. We're bound to turn up something at one of them. But we went through all the shelves and racks in both stores and didn't find anything right for Kate. I don't know. Stephanie took a last look around KidWorks. I do kind of like the blue skirt. Can you seriously picture Kate in an electric blue satin mini? I asked Patty. Kate's idea of far-out clothes is a checkered shirt with striped pants in matching colors. Patty giggled and shook her head. I'm starving, I said then. Let's go to Sweet Stuff. Sweet Stuff has the best chocolate candy in Riverhurst. I bought a small bag of caramels, Patty got some white chocolate bark, and Stephanie picked a bag of chocolate-covered almonds. We walked around until we found an empty bench and sat down. If I gain weight in my face, it's your fault, Lauren. Stephanie sucked her cheeks in, then popped 2 almonds into her mouth. We hardly ever come to this end of the mall, she said, looking around. There's nothing much down here, I said. A store that sells sheets and towels, one for pool equipment, an auto supply place. Isn't that a pet shop? Patty asked. I never noticed it before. It must be new, I said, strolling toward it. The store had 2 big windows in front. A small sign hung in one of them, Pets of Distinction. Beneath it, 3 white poodle puppies raced around in the cedar shavings. Look, kittens, Stephanie cried. In the other window, a crowd of kittens climbed and leaped and stalked, long-haired, short-haired, in every color from black to orange to gray. Aren't they cute? I love the one with the black and white spots, said Stephanie. Oh, look at the little gray one. Patty tapped the glass at a plump gray kitten with white feet and big blue eyes. Hey, a calico. That's it, I exclaimed. What's it? Said Stephanie. The perfect birthday present for Kate, I said. A calico kitten. The calico was curled in a big fluffy ball next to the water dish, sound asleep. It was a mixture of colors, orange, white, and black. A huge feathery tail lay over its round side. You think so? Does Kate even like pets? Patty wanted to know. She's never had any, has she? Stephanie asked. Maybe her parents don't like them, Patty said. Mine don't. Kate had a cat before you knew her, I told Stephanie. It died when we were in the 3rd grade. The cat's name was Batik, and she was a big, fat calico. Kate just loved Batik, and so did her parents. It was their cat before Kate was even born. Then why didn't they get another one? Stephanie asked. I guess they were too upset at first, I replied, and they had Melissa to deal with. Stephanie nodded. Melissa's a full-time job. She opened the door of Pets of Distinction. Let's go in. Shouldn't we check with Mrs. Beekman to see if it's okay? Patty asked. First, let's check out the calico. Chapter 4. May I help you, girls? A woman in a light blue sweater popped out from behind a row of bird cages. Perhaps you'd like a parakeet, or maybe a long-haired guinea pig. Easy to take care of, and they're great pets. No, thank you, Stephanie said. We're interested in one of the kittens in the front window. The woman clapped her hands together. Aren't they dear? She trilled. She steered us over to the window and opened a wire gate. Which kitten did you have in mind? The calico, I answered, next to the water dish. You certainly have an eye for special cats, the woman said. She picked up the sleepy kitten and handed it to me. It yawned, showing its sharp little teeth and rough pink tongue. Then it mewed at me. It was darling. Patty stroked the kitten's head. It's so soft, like a cotton ball. The woman corrected. All tricolored cats are females. She has long, soft hair because her mother is a purebred Persian. Wow, is she expensive? I asked, touching the kitten's pink nose. Only $40, the woman said. Oh, thank you, I said, but no thanks. I handed the kitten right back. We had each planned to spend around $6 or $7 on Kate's present. I didn't know about Stephanie or Patty, but I didn't have a dime extra. Perhaps you'd like to consider one of the other kittens, the woman suggested. The black and white kitten and the gray one are $25 each. No, we really wanted a calico, I said, discouraged. Thanks very much. After we'd left the store, we stopped in front of the window to take another look at the kittens. It's too bad she costs so much, I said, watching the calico chasing her long, fluffy tail. Kate would have just loved her. We only need around $20 more, Stephanie said. The three of us could probably make that much. That's right, Patty agreed. We could run errands for people in the neighborhood. Or rake leaves, I added, getting into the spirit. Wash cars. My dad's car needs washing. We've got a couple of weeks to make the money, Stephanie pointed out. We'll come back and buy the kitten. But what if somebody else buys her first, I said. Spend $40 on a kitten? We're the only ones crazy enough to do that, Stephanie replied with a grin. Let's go to my house and think of more things we could do to make the money. We were on our way across the mall, headed for the rack where we'd left our bikes, when we ran right smack into Kate Beekman. Yikes, I murmured. Kate, Stephanie practically shrieked. What are you doing here? I thought your dad would make you stay in. Dad just gave me a warning, Kate replied. What about you? I thought you were all too busy to come to the mall this afternoon. She was frowning. I didn't want Kate to think we were sneaking around to have fun without her. It would be better to tell her about the surprise party than to hurt her feelings. Actually, Kate, I began, but I hadn't counted on Stephanie. Actually, Kate, we were on our way to cut-ups, she broke in, shooting me a stern look. Patty doesn't have to babysit until later, so she said she'd come with me. We detoured through the mall. Stephanie ran out of inspiration for a split second, but got going again fast, where we ran into Lauren, who's here because... Everyone looked at me, waiting for an explanation. Because Mom and Beth wanted to buy some sheets and towels. They're trotting around here someplace, I said, waving in the direction of the towel store. And, Lauren decided to come with us to cut-ups, Patty finished. Would Kate go for the story? In that case, she said, I'll come too. Stephanie getting a haircut is a big event. Stephanie, Patty, and I stared at each other. The whole story was made up. We would arrive at cut-ups, and of course Stephanie wouldn't have an appointment. But what else could we do? Great, Stephanie said brightly. We marched through the mall to the other entrance, crossed 2 parking lots, and walked into cut-ups. Just inside the door was an old jukebox, the kind with big tubes of colored lights running up the sides. Neat, said Kate. She and Patty stopped to see what records it played. Stephanie and I went to the big round desk, where a thin man with a flat-top haircut was sitting. My name is Stephanie Green, Stephanie said in a low voice. I don't have an appointment. I don't suppose you could... Oh, my! Elaine Green's little girl. Elaine is one of my favorite customers. The man talked a mile a minute. I'm Larry, he said, shaking hands with both of us. I own this place. Stephanie, Elaine is so proud of you. I've seen hundreds of pictures of you. I'd recognize you anywhere. He looked at the big appointment book on the desk in front of him. And of course I'll fit you in. Please take a seat. I promise it won't be too long. Thank you, Stephanie said, smiling stiffly. I didn't want to be fitted in, she whispered to me. And how am I supposed to pay for this? Tell Kate what we're up to and forget the whole thing, I suggested. No way. Kate is going to be surprised, all right. You know how you were talking about a new look? I reminded her. I think you're about to get one. Larry was as good as his word. We sat down to read the fashion magazines that were lying around the salon. We hadn't been there more than 10 minutes when Larry called out, Stephanie, I can style you now. Coming, Stephanie groaned. It took her about a minute to go 10 steps. It was like she was walking to her doom. Stephanie lowered herself into the chair. We'll wash your hair first, Larry said. I just washed it a few hours ago, Stephanie told him. Then we'll wet it down, Larry said, grabbing a spray bottle, and jump right in. Stephanie nodded, too uneasy to practice her smile in the mirror in front of her. Larry held up a strand of Stephanie's hair that looked about 3 feet long. How much do you want me to take off? He asked her. I guess I just want to trim, Stephanie said nervously. How about if I get rid of the split ends and then we'll see, Larry suggested. Okay. Stephanie closed her eyes tight as Larry picked up the scissors. The rest of us wouldn't have missed it for the world. I can't believe she's doing this, Kate murmured. Neither can I said. And if Kate had known the reason why, she'd have been even more amazed. Stephanie would rather get her hair cut than give in and tell Kate about the surprise party. Snip! A handful of Stephanie's hair fell to the floor. Stephanie moaned softly. Snip! Another handful. Snip! Snip! Pretty soon the floor around the chair was absolutely covered with dark, wavy hair. Hey, I said, it's starting to look good. It is? Stephanie opened one eye slowly. Then she opened the other. She looked hard at herself in the mirror and sucked in her cheeks. I think it makes my face look thinner, she exclaimed. Larry, let's go for it. When Larry finally put down his scissors, Stephanie had short curls all around her face and loose waves to her shoulders on the sides and in the back. You look terrific, Patty, Kate and I declared. She looks like an angel, said Larry, twisting the short curls around the end of his comb for the finishing touch. Stephanie climbed down from the chair. I'll pay and meet you outside, she said to us. She seemed pretty gloomy as the four of us walked back to the mall together. Your hair really does look fabulous, I told her. Yeah, but I had to give Larry the birthday money and everything else I had in my wallet, and Mom still owes him $20, Stephanie told me under her breath. Will you have to pay your mom back? I asked. No, she'll be ecstatic that I finally got a haircut, Stephanie said. But now we have even more money to make before we can buy the calico. Almost $30 in 2 weeks. Could we do it? Chapter 5. Patty, Stephanie, and I had promised to go shopping with Kate on Monday afternoon, but that was definitely out now. We had a job watching Stephanie's father's car, and we couldn't afford to pass it up. Kate had been half asleep on the way to school that morning, so she hadn't remembered to ask us about going to the mall, but I knew she would at lunch. We'll have to come up with some more excuses, I murmured to Stephanie in the lunch line at the school cafeteria. I love your hair, Stephanie, Tracy Osner called out as she carried her tray into the lunchroom. Thanks, Tracy, Stephanie said. I've already thought of my excuse, she went on in a lower voice. I'm going to say my grandmother's coming out from the city for a visit, and I have to stay at home. Sure enough, Kate mentioned the mall as soon as we'd sat down at a regular table. Stephanie explained about her grandmother's visit. Patty said she had to take care of Horace again, because both of her parents were giving exams that afternoon. Patty's parents are professors at the university. Then I guess it's just you and me, Lauren, Kate said. Oh, Kate, I can't. I used at least a small particle of truth in my story. Mom found out about us sneaking around on Friday from Bullwinkle. Bullwinkle? Stephanie burst out. She obviously thought I'd flipped. Bullwinkle, I repeated firmly. He had a scrap of your pajamas in his mouth when he trotted back inside our house. Red, black, and white striped. Mom put 2 and 2 together and came up with the 4 of us, Stephanie nodded. So Dad grounded me until Wednesday, I said to Kate. Kate looked really disappointed. I'm sorry. I felt awful, lying to my best friend. That's all right, Kate said. But it's no fun going shopping alone. This will be a lot harder for me to manage than it will be for you, I pointed out to Stephanie and Patty that afternoon. Stephanie, you're at the opposite end of Pine Street, and Patty's in a completely different neighborhood. But Kate and I practically live in each other's houses. I don't know how I can keep this up for 2 weeks without her catching on. Maybe Stephanie and I can take some jobs without you, Patty suggested. And you can do something with Kate. Right, kind of throw her off the trail, Stephanie said. It might work. Lauren, pass me the sponge. We were washing Stephanie's father's car in the Greens driveway. That doesn't seem fair to you two, I said, turning the hose on the back bumper of the car. Maybe we should just tell Kate about the present and the party. It would make things a lot easier. But do you think Kate would let us keep on working if she knew we were doing it just to buy her a birthday present? Patty asked. Of course not, Stephanie said. They were right. Kate would be embarrassed by all the fuss. There you are, Stephanie said, giving the headlights a swipe. So the calico kitten's still a surprise and the party's still a surprise. Patty, please throw some of that soapy water on the windshield. We made $7.50 washing the car on Monday and $10 repainting Patty's mother's gardening shed on Tuesday. We were getting there. That night, my mom called Mrs. Beekman for me, just in case Kate answered the phone. Then she put me on. "Hi, Mrs. Beekman," I said. "Hi, Lauren," Mrs. Beekman whispered. "Kate's in the kitchen. Is there some problem with you girls? You haven't been around much recently." "We're planning a party for Kate's birthday," I told her. "We're trying to keep it a surprise." "What a nice idea," Mrs. Beekman sounded relieved. "Is there anything I can do to help?" "Actually, I wanted to ask you about the present. We'd like to get her a kitten," I said. "A calico kitten." Mrs. Beekman was quiet for a moment. "How lovely. I can't imagine anything that Kate would like more." "Terrific! We found the cutest one." "That's right, Mr. Tully," Mrs. Beekman said suddenly. Kate must have walked into the room. "2 pounds of swordfish steaks, and I'll pick them up tomorrow. Thank you." "Thank you, Mrs. Beekman." I hung up. It was okay. Things were going great. But on Wednesday, our luck changed. Mom had run into Mrs. Carter earlier that week in town. Mrs. Carter is very old. She taught Mom in elementary school, and very crotchety. She wondered if Roger would be interested in spending Wednesday afternoon cleaning up her yard. She'd be willing to pay him $15, she said. Roger turned the offer down flat. "Mrs. Carter always makes me feel as though I'm back in the 2nd grade. So Mom suggested Stephanie, Patty, and me, and Mrs. Carter agreed to try us out. On the minus side, Mrs. Carter is super cranky, I told Stephanie and Patty, and she lives only a street away from Kate and me, which means Kate might spot us. Not necessarily, Stephanie argued. And on the plus side, $15 more would buy the calico kitten this week, with $2.50 left over for sweet stuff. So Wednesday afternoon found the 3 of us lined up in Mrs. Carter's garage. Mrs. Carter looked sort of like a witch, with a long, thin nose and flyaway white hair. As she handed out the tools, she gave us instructions in a high, scratchy voice. "Don't step in the flower beds while you're weeding. In tight spots, always weed by hand. And don't use the hoe because you'll tear everything up. Pick the leaves out of the borders. Don't rake them. Don't scratch the trunks of my fruit trees with the rake. Break twigs up into small pieces before you pile them neatly in the trash bin." And on and on. "I didn't think we were ever going to get started," Patty said to Stephanie and me as we shouldered our rakes and walked into the lawn. "And don't spend all your time chatting," Mrs. Carter screeched from the house. "I've hired you to work in my garden." Ugh, if I'd had her for a teacher, I definitely would have been a 2nd grade dropout, Stephanie muttered. "Raking will be a breeze compared to listening to Mrs. Carter," I said. But we hadn't been raking more than a few minutes when Patty said, "Oh no, Kate's coming around the corner on her bike." "Hide," Stephanie squawked. "But where?" We couldn't step in the flower beds, and there were little fences around most of the trees, and Mrs. Carter had closed the garage doors. So we just stood there, holding our rakes, looking dumb. Kate braked her bike in a cloud of dust and stared at us. Finally, she spoke. "I called your houses. I wondered where you all were. What are you doing in Mrs. Carter's yard?" "We needed a little extra money," Stephanie said. "I had to pay Mom back for my haircut." "I owed Roger," I said. "I owed Horace," said Patty. That wasn't as silly as it sounded. Horace is only 6, but he has a lot of money in his bear bank because he never spends a cent. "Oh," said Kate. "Why didn't you tell me about it?" "It was a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing," Stephanie replied. "I did call, but no one answered," I lied. "Oh," Kate said again. I must have been outside. But I knew she didn't believe me. Mrs. Carter bolted out of her house about then. "Girls," she yelled, "this is not a party. Do you hear me?" "You bet it isn't," mumbled Stephanie. "I'd better go." Kate climbed back on her bike. "Kate, wait," I called, but Kate was already halfway down the street. The 4 of us met at the corner as usual the next morning to ride to school together on our bicycles. But Kate was awfully quiet. She didn't say much at lunch either. When she asked if we were busy that afternoon and we said yes, she didn't even try to find out what we were doing. We were going to the mall to buy the kitten, of course. On the way over, I said, "I'm worried about Kate. What good is surprising her with a birthday party if we're losing her as a friend?" "You're letting your imagination run away with you, Lauren," Stephanie said. That's something Kate always says to me. Having Stephanie say it just made me feel worse about Kate. "Look, we're going to buy the kitten right now. Once we have the present, things will get back to normal," Stephanie promised. We dashed across the mall, past auto supplies and dishes, to pets of distinction. "The calico kitten isn't in the window," Patty exclaimed. "The black and white spotted one isn't here either," Stephanie said. "They're probably in a cage inside." We pushed open the door and hurried into the store. "We were in here on Saturday," I said to the woman in the blue sweater. "We were interested in the calico kitten, the one that cost $40. "Oh, isn't that a shame," the woman said. "I sold the kitten not 2 hours ago to a little boy and his mother." So it was back to square one. We were so depressed that we passed right by sweet stuff without a second glance. Chapter 6. It was my turn to have the sleepover on Friday. Stephanie, Patty, and Kate would bring their overnight stuff to my house. Then my parents would drive us to the Masons' party and pick us up when it was over. Kate is always on time, but she wasn't that night. It gave Patty, Stephanie, and me a chance to discuss the problem of the present with my mother. When Kate finally knocked, she was 20 minutes late, and she only lives 2 minutes away at the most. Another thing, the sleepover friends had decided early in the week what to wear to the party. We'd all agreed on pants with the cuffs rolled up, 2 shirts, and colored sneaks. Kate walked in the front door wearing a long printed sweater, pink leggings, and gray high tops. "Whoa," said Stephanie. Kate's blonde hair is short and neat. She usually brushes it away from her face and forgets about it. Now it was pulled straight back on one side with a red plastic clip. And she was wearing earrings, long, dangly, clip-on earrings. Kate looked at each one of us, as though she just dared us to say something. "I like your earrings, Kate," Patty said quietly. "Thanks. They're not really mine. They belong to Tracy Oster," Kate said coolly. "The hair clip is Jenny's." "Jenny's?" said Stephanie. "Jenny Carlin," Kate replied. "Since you were all busy, I rode home with Tracy and Jenny after school yesterday." "Tracy's okay, but Jenny Carlin?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I can't stand Jenny Carlin, and Kate very well knows it. "We're ready to go, aren't we?" Patty asked in the nick of time. "More than ready," my mother said. "Kate, did you forget your pajamas?" Kate never forgets anything. "I'll pick them up later," she answered vaguely. We climbed into the car, Stephanie, Patty, and I in the back seat, Kate up front with my mom. The ride over was so quiet that I could hear Kate's watch ticking. Nobody said a thing, and I forgot to breathe a couple of times. When my mother pulled up in front of the Masons, Kate was the first person out of the car and into the house. "Oh dear," Mom said. "Don't you think you should tell Kate about her party?" "We'd like it to be a surprise, Mrs. Hunter," Stephanie replied firmly. "Well, try to have a good time at the dance. Lauren's dad will be back for you at 10, girls." Inside, there were balloons and colored lights and streamers and music. Sally and Royce's older sister was playing the tapes for dancing. There must have been at least 40 people at the party. A bunch of 5th graders, some 6th graders, lots of Royce's 7th grade friends. Half of the kids were already jumping around to the music. I saw Larry Jackson and Henry Larkin and some other kids from our room, 5B, but Kate had disappeared. Michael Pastor, a 5th grader in the A room, asked Patty to dance. He really likes her, even though he's shorter than she is. She hunched down and looked uncomfortable, but the height difference didn't seem to bother Michael at all. "Hi, Lauren." It was Pete Stone in a really great checkered sweatshirt. "Want to get something to eat?" Mrs. Mason was behind the refreshment table. She's one of the class mothers who helps out on field trips and at book fairs and stuff. She's a nice person, but very nervous. And she's just as nervous in her own house as she is when she's with us at the zoo or the museum. Mrs. Mason has a choppy way of talking. She's also into health food. "Lauren, good evening. Nice to see you. And Pete, what would you like? The whole grain bread is good. Yogurt dip with celery sticks?" "Hello, Mrs. Mason. Just some punch would be fine." It tasted like carrots, but Pete and I both drank a cup. That's when I saw Kate. She was standing with Tracy Osner and Jenny Carlin, and they were all dressed alike. Jenny was wearing red leggings and Tracy wore blue ones. Both of them had clips in their hair and earrings dangling from their ears. Tracy waved, but Jenny glared at Pete and me. Kate stared right past us. I danced with Pete and Larry and Michael. Patty danced with Michael and with Kyle Hubbard, another boy in 5A, and a tall 6th grader named Ricky Delman. Stephanie danced with Larry, 2 6th graders, and Donald Foster 3 times. Kate even danced with Royce Mason twice. But I was too worried to really have fun. "Tonight at the sleepover," I said to Stephanie and Patty, "I'm going to tell Kate everything." "I think we should," Patty agreed. Even Stephanie finally admitted things had gone too far. But Kate wouldn't let me tell her. When Dad stopped the car in our driveway after the party, Kate said, "Good night, Mr. Hunter. Thank you for the ride." Then she got out and walked quickly down the sidewalk toward her house. She wasn't going for her pajamas. She wasn't coming to my sleepover. Hey, wait a second! I got out of the car and ran down the sidewalk after her. I have something to tell you. Kate whirled around. I don't want to hear it, Lauren Hunter, she snapped. I never thought I'd be saying this, but Jenny Carlin is acting more like a friend than you are. You and Stephanie and Patty don't do anything with me anymore. You've lied to me. You've probably even told them about me and Royce Mason so you can laugh about it. I was shocked. Kate, you asked me to keep it a secret. I would never tell anyone. You're my best friend. You have a pretty weird way of showing it, Lauren. I don't think you care about me at all. Listen to me. The reason we've... Forget it. You're too late. She turned on heel and marched away. Stephanie and Patty raced up behind me. Isn't she coming back? Patty asked. I shook my head. She's furious. What a mess. I opened the back door, and I'm absolutely starving. I'm lucky I come from a thin family because I like to eat. I eat quite a lot when I'm happy, but when I'm upset, I can eat twice as much. And I was upset that night. It was the very first sleepover in our history without Kate. I started stirring up things in the kitchen. 2 big bowls of caramel popcorn, Dr. Pepper floats for the 3 of us, plates of nachos made with corn chips and melted cheese with an olive on top, chocolate chip refrigerator cookies. We piled everything on a tray and I carried it upstairs to my room. Where's Bullwinkle? Stephanie asked. Locked in the spare room, I replied. Just checking. What are we going to do about Kate? Patty asked. We have to do something quick. If Lauren keeps feeding me like this, I'm going to be sick, plus gain a few 100 pounds, Stephanie said. She ate 3 more nachos. Chapter 7. When we got up the next morning, my father was sitting at the breakfast table alone. Something to eat, ladies? He asked. Stephanie clutched her stomach and groaned. No thanks, Mr. Hunter. I don't think I'll ever eat again. Patty shook her head too. I'll just have some ice water. I wasn't even hungry. That Friday night had been the pig out of all time. I was amazed that there was anything left in the refrigerator for Dad to be eating. Where's Mom? I asked. She had an important errand to run, he answered. She told me to tell you 3 not to leave the house before she gets back. Oh? We hadn't done anything to get into trouble. I wondered what Mom wanted. We didn't have to wait long to find out. I heard Mom's car pull up in the driveway. Then she nudged the back door once or twice. I ran to open it. Mom was carrying a cardboard box so large that I could only see her legs. I think I've solved one of your big problems, although I've given myself a few new little ones, she announced from behind the box. Something inside the box thumped and bumped and squeaked. What's in there, Mrs. Hunter? Stephanie asked as Mom set the box down on the kitchen floor. Take a look, Mom said, opening the top flaps. Stephanie, Patty, and I peered inside. The box was a mass of wriggling, scrambling, squirming. Wow, a box full of kittens, I exclaimed. Well, really only 4, my mother said. And one's a calico, said Stephanie. Half the kitten's face was black, the other half orange. She had a white chin and stomach, 4 little white paws, and a mischievous expression in her clear green eyes. Besides the calico, there were 2 black and white kittens and a solid black one in the box. Oh, Mom, where did you find them? An advertisement in this morning's paper. Free kittens to good homes. Since the ad listed a calico, I thought I'd take a look. What about the other 3, Mrs. Hunter? Patty asked. The owner was all set to take them to the pound, my mother said. I couldn't let that happen, could I? I figured we could find somebody to adopt them. Mom, you're great. I gave her a hug. Now we have Kate's present and exactly a week to get her to talk to us. Why should we wait a week for her birthday? I think the surprise party should be today, Stephanie declared. You're kidding, I said. Kate probably won't even let us near her house. She may not let us in, but she's not going to stop a delivery man, is she? Stephanie replied craftily. What kind of delivery man? Patty asked. Oh, I think we'll start with a heart-shaped pizza for 12 from Pizza Dreams. Triples for each of us. And then an ice cream cake shaped like a cat from Russell's. And maybe a singing telegram from Sneak Attack. Thanks to Lauren's mom, we've got $42.50 to spend, remember? Balloons would be nice, I said thoughtfully. Balloons would be nice, Stephanie agreed. With happy birthday on them and lots of ribbons, Patty added. I think we might be able to slip in with the balloons, I said. When is all this going to start? My mother asked, smiling at us. Around 4 this afternoon, Stephanie said. Then I'd better warn Barbara Beekman, Mom said, picking up the telephone. But tell her it's still a secret, Mom, I cautioned. Oh, yes, I'll tell her that, my mother said. Patty and I reached into the cardboard box to pick up the kittens, but Stephanie shook her head. No time for that now, she scolded. We have to get all of this coordinated. She and Patty called home to get permission to stay at my house for the day. Then we worked out a timetable on a sheet of paper. 4 o'clock, the singing telegram, Stephanie began. Okay, I wrote it down. 4:15, the pizza. No, Patty said. I think the ice cream cake should be delivered first because it can be put in the freezer. The pizza would get cold waiting for the ice cream cake and then us to show up. You're right. Ice cream cake at 4:15, pizza at 4:30. Then us with the balloons and the kitten at 4:32. When Kate sees the kitten, she'll have to let us in, Patty said, bending over to pat the calico. We rode our bikes to Pizza Dreams and Russell's and Sneak Attack. After we'd paid for the pizza, the ice cream cake, and the singing telegram, to be performed by a clown, we have $13.50 left. This should buy plenty of balloons, Stephanie said. Let's go to Looney Balloons at the mall. The guys there blew up 15 enormous red helium balloons with happy birthday stamped on them in silver glitter. They fastened them with crinkly silver and red ribbon. Just looking at the balloons could put you in a good mood. We tied them to our bikes, 5 balloons each, and rode slowly home. We turned up the alley behind my house so Kate wouldn't see them before we wanted her to. My room has a good view of Kate's front yard. We carried the kittens upstairs and took turns keeping watch out the window. It was Stephanie who spotted the truck from Sneak Attack. He's here, 4 o'clock on the dot. Patty and I ran to the window. What's he wearing? A white jacket with red pom-poms for buttons, an orange wig, striped trousers, big red lips, and a rubber nose. Look at his feet. The clown stepped out of the truck onto the ground in shoes that looked 4 feet long. His feet are bigger than Robert Ellwanger's, Stephanie snickered. Robert Ellwanger is the nerdiest boy in Riverhurst. The clown reached back into the truck for a large drum with a horn attached. Then he stumbled up the walk to the Beekman's front door. He rang the doorbell. In a few seconds, someone opened the door. It's Kate, Stephanie hissed. The clown asked her a question. Kate nodded. The clown took a step back. Then he started banging on the drum, tooting the horn, and singing Happy Birthday to You in between toots. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen, I giggled. He's totally off key, Stephanie shrieked, falling onto the bed. What's Kate doing? There was a mournful howl from Bullwinkle in the backyard. Kate's starting to laugh, Patty said. Watch it, she's looking this way. Things moved pretty quickly after that. 15 minutes later, the van from Russell's drove to the Beekman's house. A man in a blue uniform got out, carrying a big blue and white box. He rang the doorbell, and Kate opened the door. After a word or two, he handed Kate the box, bowed deeply, and went back to his truck. We'd better get ready, Patty advised. It's pizza next, and then we're on. We put the 2 black and whites and the solid black kitten back in their box in the kitchen. Patty carried the little calico into the living room, where we'd left the balloons. They were bumping against the ceiling, their silver and red ribbons hanging down to the floor. I grabbed the ribbons to 5 of the balloons and handed them to Stephanie. You take 5. No, maybe you should take more. If Patty carries the kitten, she can't hold any balloons. What if we hooked 1 balloon to the kitten, Stephanie suggested. It would look really cute. Patty nodded. Okay. I wrapped some ribbon loosely around the kitten's neck and handed the end closest to the balloon to Patty to hang on to. Stephanie had 7 balloons, I had 7, and Patty had 1 plus the kitten. We were all set. I hear a truck, Stephanie said. I peeked through the curtains. Pizza Dreams, let's go. I opened the front door and we squeezed through it. The balloons were really big. We started down the sidewalk looking a little like a circus parade, with lots of balloons and 1 small animal. We were almost to Kate's house when I heard a commotion behind us, kind of a huffing and grunting and scrabbling. Patty looked back. It's Bullwinkle, she screamed. Somehow he had heaved himself over the fence and was heading right for us. The pizza man practically dumped the pizza on Kate and dashed for his truck, but Bullwinkle was interested only in the balloons. He thinks they're giant rubber balls, I panted to Stephanie and Patty as we ducked and dodged out of his way. Kate was on her front steps laughing her head off, but the kitten wasn't so amused. She took 1 look at Bullwinkle and leaped out of Patty's arms. She tore up the nearest tree, her balloon ribbon unraveling and drifting into the sky. The calico climbed to the topmost branch and stayed there, hissing and spitting at the frolicking monster below. I turned my balloons loose and threw myself on Bullwinkle. Listen, Kate, I said, struggling with Bullwinkle. We weren't, doing things behind your back, or at least, well, we kind of were, but it was because Stephanie was finding it hard to talk, still hanging on to 7 huge balloons. We just wanted to surprise, Patty tried grabbing one of Bullwinkle's legs. Anyway, Stephanie jumped out of the way. Happy birthday, we all said at once. And if you want your birthday present anytime soon, please call the fire department, Stephanie added, pointing at the kitten in the tree. By the time the Riverhurst Fire Department's hook and ladder company arrived, Patty and I had wrestled Bullwinkle back into my yard. The fire truck parked next to the Beekman's oak tree. As we stood on the lawn and crossed our fingers, one of the firemen climbed to the very end of the ladder, reached way out, and grabbed the frightened kitten. We cheered and clapped until the fireman and the calico were safely on the ground. You'd better hang on to this little guy, the fireman said, handing the kitten to Kate. Girl, Stephanie, Patty and I said automatically. Kate hugged the calico kitten. I really love her. Thanks, she said to us. And thank you so much, Mr. Warren, Fred Warren, the fireman answered. If you don't mind, I think I'll name my kitten Frederica, Kate told him. Frederica? Stephanie said doubtfully. I don't know if she's Kate's kitten, Patty pointed out firmly. And I've never had a nicer present, Kate said. Let's go inside, guys, before the pizza gets cold and the ice cream melts. And then, because we still had so much to tell each other, we'd barely spoken in a week, we decided to make a night of it if we could. The first sleepover weekend, Stephanie exclaimed. What a great idea. Mrs. Beekman said she'd been expecting it, and of course we could all sleep over at Kate's house. My mom was amazed that I even bothered to ask, and the Greens and Jenkinses all gave their permission. We'll go get our overnight stuff at my house and be right back, I told Kate. Why don't you bring the other kittens too, she suggested. It'll give Frederica one more night with her brothers and sisters. Chapter 8. We were in Kate's living room with 7 balloons bumping against the ceiling and 4 kittens racing all over the place. We'd just finished the last of the ice cream cake. I'm so stuffed I can hardly move, Stephanie said. Maybe you ought to run around a little. You might feel better, I suggested. Oh, Lauren, you're such a jock, Kate said. What did you have in mind, 50 jumping jacks? Not at all, I replied coolly. What I had in mind was a lively game of truth or dare. Sounds good to me, Stephanie said. What about the rest of you? Sure, said Patty. Fine with me. Who's it? Kate asked. I thought of it, so I'm it, I said. Truth or dare, Kate? Truth, Kate answered. Okay, were you surprised, or weren't you? Kate grinned. You bet I was. I spent the whole week thinking the 3 of you were mad at me for something, or that you just didn't like me anymore, until the clown showed up. I wish we could have heard him better, Stephanie said. He sounded really awful. She, Kate said. The clown was a girl. You're kidding, I exclaimed. Now I know what to tell Aunt Beth when she asks me what I want to be when I grow up. Stephanie snickered. Kate, it's your turn. Stephanie, truth or dare? Dare. But please don't make it too energetic, okay? It isn't. Call Robert Ellwanger and ask him to go to the movies. Oh no, Stephanie groaned. Aren't you ever going to forget that? That was months ago. At one of our sleepovers, Stephanie had made Kate call Robert and ask him to come over. Patty and I burst out laughing. Kate never forgets anything. All right, Stephanie said. It's not even late. Kate handed her the phone and the phone book. Ellwanger, Richard. That's his father's name. E-L-L. I know how to spell it, Stephanie said. She found the number and dialed. The phone rang several times. I think they're all out. Wait. Hello? His mother, she mouthed at us. Is Robert in? Mrs. Ellwanger said something. May I speak to him? This is Stephanie Green. I'm a 5th grader at Riverhurst Elementary. She looked at us. Ick. What are you worrying about? He won't accept, I whispered. He said no to Kate. Stephanie waved her hand for us to be quiet. Hello, Robert. She held the phone so we could all hear. This is Stephanie Green. I'm in 5B, Mrs. Mead's room. I know that, Robert said. He has a really squeaky voice. Oh, you do. I was just calling to ask... Stephanie stopped and Kate nudged her. To ask if you'd like to go to the movies next Saturday. Is this some kind of joke? Robert squeaked. Oh, no, not at all, said Stephanie, rolling her eyes. The rest of us were holding our hands over our noses and mouths, trying not to giggle. I like that a lot, Stephanie, Robert Ellwanger replied. What time and at which theater? He managed to sound nerdy and full of himself at the same time. Oh no, Stephanie's lips said, although no sounds came out. I'll check the schedules and let you know, okay? All right. If I don't hear from you by tomorrow afternoon, I'll give you a call. What's your number? 555-2478. Stephanie could hardly bring herself to finish it. Catch you later, said Robert. Stephanie hung up. Catch you later, Kate, Patty, and I shrieked. Stephanie stuck out her tongue. Okay, Kate, I think we're even about Robert Ellwanger. You should feel flattered, Stephanie. He turned Kate down flat, I teased. He must like girls with dark, wavy hair, Kate added. I think it's your new look, Patty said. But before the game was over, Stephanie got Kate back. I picked Stephanie when it was my turn again. Truth or dare, I asked. Dare. Stephanie practically always answers dare. She says it's more fun. I want you to run around Donald Foster's house. You have to be kidding me, she said. This is truth or dare, isn't it? I replied. Your cake has had time to settle. We put the kittens back in their box. At least I've got jeans on instead of pajamas, Stephanie said in a low voice as we tiptoed into the kitchen and slowly opened the back door. All the way around? Stephanie whispered. I nodded. And don't cheat, I warned. Stephanie slipped out of the house and dashed across the lawn. She pushed through the hedge and disappeared. We waited for her to come back. And waited and waited. Where is she? Kate said. It shouldn't take so long. We squinted at Donald's house. There wasn't a light on in the place. Minutes passed. We started to get worried. She's probably just standing on the other side of the hedge, I said. If we go look for her, she'll jump out and scare us to death. But what if something's wrong, said Patty. We'd better go see, said Kate. The three of us crept down the steps and sneaked across the Beekmans' yard. We paused at the hedge and listened. Everything was quiet. Stephanie? Patty whispered. Stephanie! There wasn't a sound. Kate pushed through the hedge. And suddenly 4 or 5 voices boomed out, all boys. Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Kate! Happy birthday to you! Flashlights blinked on. It was Donald, Ricky Delman, Larry Jackson, and Royce Mason. Behind them was a tent. They were camping out in the Fosters' backyard. Stephanie had run right into them on her trip around the house. On one side of us, Bullwinkle started to howl, and on the other, Melissa screeched, Kate, I'm telling Mom! The 4 of us grinned at each other. The sleepover friends were back to normal.